Wednesday.
Oh, we're not doing the Instagram tonight.
No, this is a Facebook exclusive event. We are going to be joined by Cassie Stevens here in just a little bit. We're still trying to get her in, but technology doesn't scare us.
It says that we've connected with Cassie and she's in here, but
we're just trying to see her lovely face.
All we see is a black screen. So Cassie, if you're there, we know you're there, but we don't see you. Are you playing peekaboo? Maverick loves that game. Hide and go seek, maybe?
Wow.
What is it, minnows? I don't even know.
Sharks and minnows, that's a pool game.
That's a pool game.
That's like Marco Polo.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's a different game.
Wow. We have been quarantined for way too long. We're starting to get loopy over here in this neck of the woods. So let us know in the comments, how are you hanging in there? Yeah. Are you hanging in there? We know many of you, schools are still closing. Some of you are still up in the air with what it's going to be. Just know that we're sending lots of positive thoughts and vibes your way. And that as educators, we're all experiencing this and we're all in it together. And so we get your pain. We get what you're going through. So just keep it going one day at a time.
I had some drama in my virtual class today.
Yeah, I did.
I teach middle school, and they were definitely being middle schoolers today in a private chat. So
good times.
I feel it. I feel you guys right now. It's happening with us too.
It's never easy. We knew the job was dangerous and difficult when we took it. So here we go. But we are so excited for tonight. Tonight's episode is. We don't even have any corn memes.
I hear Maverick,
and
though.
Maverick is singing. Good night.
Singing himself to sleep there.
But we are so excited for tonight because we just want to chat for just a little while before we actually turn it over to Cassie for her art explosion extravaganza. I don't know, but she's going to do what Cassie does best.
And we're going to follow her directions.
I know I say this all the time, but she's literally one of my favorite humans on the face of this planet. Yeah. But before we bring her in here, we just want to kind of talk about something that Wade and I talk a lot about. If you follow us on social media, or if you've been to any of our conferences, or if you've read our book, The Wild Card, one of our biggest things that we focus on, that we feel like when people ask us, how do you find the motivation? How do you have this much energy? How do you have so much passion for education? And it all boils back down to our why. And so the thing about our whys right now, and the thing that I've seen in a lot of my messages and just seen on social media from different teachers, is that we feel like our why has been stripped away from us because we're no longer in the classroom. Like for many educators, I know so many people feel like, I walked out of my classroom and had no idea that was even my last time seeing my kids. Like, I'm not getting to say goodbye. I'm not getting to have a proper ending. I'm not getting to have closure for the year. I'm not getting to have those special moments where we reflect and see the growth and celebrate all of the amazing things that we've done. And that is just a harsh, cutoff. And so many people feel like their why, like their purpose, has been stripped away from them. But as we talk about all the time, our why is constantly changing.
Yeah. I mean, when I wasn't even a teacher, and I think the reason why it's so comfortable for me to talk about purpose and why, and we see Cassie,
Yay,
so she is here. Yes, here. I see her in the corner of my eye. But I think the reason why it comes so easy to us is because that's just kind of how we've lived our life. And it does change in whatever avenue you're in. But even as young as you are, you still have a purpose. You still have an outlet. You can still reach people. And I think at the end of the day, if you are in education, you got into education to serve and to give back and to give your all in the best way that you know how. It just looks a little bit different. So when I became a teacher, I think it was easier to navigate that purpose and that why, because you're walking through that classroom every single day. These are your kids. But what we've come to see, and I'm sure you have too, is every year you get a new class of students, or you're in a different grade level or a different school or community or environment. Or like right now, you're like, well, I don't even have any of that. So what am I going to do? And so redefining what that looks like, but not straying away from the foundation of what that purpose really is really important. And Cassie does an incredible job of breaking it down detail by detail, focusing on that foundation, but really scientifically almost diving into what makes you you and what makes your purpose that important for people.
Yeah, and I kind of want to capitalize on something that you said too. When we do feel as though we've been stripped of our why and we're like, okay, I don't even know. I've lost like my whole kind of sense of purpose and being, and I've lost my routine and my schedules. Focusing back on that servanthood mentality. That is who teachers are at our core. That is why we got into this profession. That is what motivates us. The way that we serve our students, the way that we serve our parents, the way that we serve others in our building. That is just who we are as teachers, as educators. And so one thing that I want to encourage you on, if you're like losing your sense of why, or you really can't find your footing and you're just not feeling the motivation, you're not feeling inspired, and you just kind of have lost your way, because we all feel like that. I mean, we've all lost our vision of our why, our purpose, and we do that from time to time. That's just human nature. But if you feel as though you kind of lost your footing and you kind of feel off balance and you're not really sure what's happening, especially during this time of this pandemic and uncertain times, take it back to that servanthood mentality. And it's been kind of a theme, an anthem, I feel like, on every single Better Together episode, regardless of what educator we bring on here, what guests we bring on here, they're all talking about that servanthood mentality. And that is who we are as educators. So if you're struggling, take it back to just that simple concept and say, what is it that I can do to serve someone else today? Because if we're always constantly focused on what fulfills us, that might be why we're struggling to find our purpose. Because I know for myself, I'm just speaking for myself, when I become so consumed with my own feelings, that's when I lose my motivation. But when I'm thinking, and listen, we still have to do self-care, and we still have to take care of ourselves, and we still have to give time for a mental break, especially when we're home with kids. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that drive, that motivation, what gets you out of bed every single morning, what makes you excited to greet the day. Think about, while I might not be in the classroom, how can I still serve others? Perhaps even if you're not able to reach your students right now, which is so many educators, and we have said over and over and over again, whatever you're doing is enough. Whatever you're doing is an incredible job. Maybe your purpose is to reach out to your colleagues during this time. Maybe your purpose is to build that school community and build that trust and build that bond, so that when you do go back into the school building for the school year, that you are tighter than ever. Because you're only as strong as your community. Yeah, and so pouring into your community might be your why, might be your new why for this time.
And like Hope said, it does look different. And I mean, I don't even know if Cassie knows this, but I mean, her TikToks are freaking insane. But they're so much fun, and they're so exciting.
So much joy.
So much, like, Hope will literally lay in the bed and she'll cry laughing. And Cassie has no clue how many people probably in America are doing that, and it's needed. Yeah. And I mean, it's phenomenal. And I know she didn't know I was going to talk about that, but that just shows like she's still trying to serve. And y'all, I don't know about you, but I can't even figure out this TikTok stuff. It's complicated, and it takes a lot of time. Like, it is to the T. But then she's also serving with these art lessons that she does on lives, and just she has found a way to connect with people who need that connection. And I mean,
who would have ever thought that?
Goodness gracious!
But I think that we put so much. I think we make it so difficult. Right. Like we don't even realize what our why is, because we're searching for it. So I mean, like, if you had probably told Cassie, which we're gonna pull her on here in a second, that TikTok would be her why, she'd probably like, no, please. But she doesn't even realize how much joy that truly, like you just said, like. Literally, from my heart and my soul, it just makes me so happy. It makes me smile. It makes me laugh. And you guys know the science behind smiling, laughing, what that does for your mentality, for your mindset. And so, I think that we're just overthinking it a lot of times, because we feel like our why needs to be so profound and so thought-driven. That is not the case. And so, thinking of ways that we can make other people smile, thinking of ways that we can bring joy to someone else. It's those small things that we really pull together to find our ultimate purpose in what we're doing. And so that's kind of what we wanted to focus on tonight as we kind of redefine our why, because we talk about it in the wild card. Yeah. Every single year, you're dealt a different hand of cards. That is why your why changes even in your classroom from year to year, or even in your classroom from beginning of the year to middle of the year to the end of the year. It's constantly changing. Yep. You might not even know it. So, of course, we've had a major life event of something that's happened, in our world that we've never seen before. So 100% our why is going to change right now. But as you always say, didn't you used to talk about Sanjay Gupta?
Yeah.
And how he says that you live longer if you have a purpose. And now, like, Dr. Sanjay Gupta is everywhere. He's like the face of the virus. Like he's everywhere.
I knew him before y'all knew him.
Wade has always loved him. Always been a big fan of his.
And Fareed Zakari, they both did. Yeah, if you have some type of purpose or faith or reason or essentially a why in your life, you'll live at least 10 to 15 years longer than if you didn't. And so if for no other reason to have a purpose, make you live longer.
But think about that. If they're sharing that for lifetime, like what that means for times of uncertainty, how important it is that we recognize our why, we recognize our purpose, and that's what we live out during this time. So we know that this time is so confusing, and we're going through all of the emotions right along with you. All of them. So we just thought tonight would be a fun night to kind of get together. Yeah. And we are going to bring one of our favorite people ever onto the show. We've got all of our supplies ready. So welcome, Cassie Stevens, everybody.
What's up, Cassie?
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. I love that Wade said that I was trying to remember the word, clueless. You had a pause there, and I thought clueless is right. When you said I didn't know like how I was resonating with everything. And he said, she's clueless. And I thought, oh my gosh, he knows.
I tend to stumble over my words sometimes, so that's probably a random weird pause, but yeah.
Cassie, I don't even know if you know this. I don't know if I've messaged you this or if I've told you this or whatever, but I literally, I think we've talked about you and your TikToks probably on the better part of our episodes, because literally you have no idea how much joy it brings me every day. But I say all the time, I tell people, we were talking to Ty the other day, and I told him that you need a TikTok tiara because you're like the TikTok queen of all the land.
Of all the land.
Don't know how it happened. I have no right being there, but it's fun. It's fun. Wade, I think you would enjoy it. I mean, I can't dance at all. I cannot learn the dance.
Are you crazy?
Are you kidding me? You've got it to a T. Like you.
It's so good, Cassie. I don't even understand how you do it. It is like a sincere talent. Like
I can't figure that out.
It is unbelievable. But you are an art teacher, so we know you're naturally creative. But I just have a question, because I know we need to hop into this because you got a lot to go through tonight. But seriously, like how do you even, I just have to know this, how do you even come up with the ideas for your like, I've wanted to know this for so long. How do you even think like that?
I don't know. I think I just listen to the little clips, and you hear something that resonates, or something that I don't know. Well, you got to get out there, and you guys would be rocking it. I'm quite certain.
Oh my gosh. You're just so clever, and everything is that is so teacher life. So you are amazing, and please don't ever stop. Just know that it's bringing joy to me like you would not even believe or understand. So thank you for that. But here's what's going to happen, everybody. We're about to turn this over to Cassie, and she's going to walk us through this and do what only she can do and what she does best. Wade and I are going to kind of step out because we're going to do this too. We're going to be doing this right along with you guys. However, we will be in the comments. So if you have questions for us, it doesn't have to be just about this or just about this project.
I won't be in the comments a lot because I'm doing.
Wade takes his art you have no idea. Wade takes his art very seriously. He loves art. So do I. But we will be happy to answer those questions in the comments. So we would love for you to be interactive. If you have a question for Cassie, we will be writing those down and we'll try to ask her some at the very end. But Cassie, we are just going to turn it over to you and let you take the show if that's okay.
Let me get my stuff ready.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, all right. So we'll check back in with you in a few minutes.
Okay. Sounds great. So I originally kind of came up with this lesson when I was presenting at Get Your Teach On this summer. And the whole premise behind that session was finding your why. And that was, back in the day when we were actually in our classroom and figuring out our why and knowing our why. It looked a lot different then. Now we're in a totally different world. But the good news is we're all in it together and we're all learning together. When I was reading the wild card, something that really stood out to me was when Hope and Wade mentioned finding your why and using your why as your passion to teach from. And what I realized was I didn't know what my why was. Here I was, a teacher who'd been teaching for 20 years and didn't have like a solid understanding of why I was getting up and out of bed every morning. That's pretty crazy. So I thought, I've got to figure this out. And when I started thinking it through, I realized that there were a couple of other questions that I needed to answer before figuring out what my why is. So I want you to grab a scrap piece of paper, open up a notebook that you like to have cherished thoughts in, a diary, whatever. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And it's only going to be 3. They're really simple. And when you answer these questions, I want you to answer them from the place that you are now. And I guess if you wanted to, you could also answer them from the place where you were like a month ago, or where you hope to be when we're all back in school. And it's just 3 questions. Each question, go ahead and jot down 4 answers. And as you answer these questions, think of them just as single word. Let's keep it simple, but really focus on how you would answer this question. Not your favorite teacher to follow on Instagram, not the person who works next door to you, whose classroom you love, how you would answer this question. Okay, so paper and pencil ready. My first question to you is, what do you want your students to learn? When you can either answer this when they're back in your classroom, or I'm going to share with you in just a moment how I previously answered this question, and now how I'm going to answer this question. So what do you want your students to learn? I'm pausing because I know if I'm talking, you won't be able to answer. So as you're thinking that through, what do you want your students to learn right now in this place that they are? I'm going to share with you how I answered this question previously. So previously, as an art teacher, what I wanted my students to learn was a variety of different media. I wanted them to learn how to use all sorts of different art supplies. I wanted them to learn about making real world connections, how what we learn in my room can translate to home life and beyond. I also wanted them to learn art history and contemporary artists. That's how I would have answered that question a month, 2 months ago. But now, in the place we are now, what do you want them to learn? For me, I want them to learn to be more present. I want them to learn to spend time with the ones they love. I want them to learn how to use the supplies that they have. I can't share with them now how to use a variety of media because they're not in that place anymore. So I want to learn how to make do with what they've got. So what do you want your students to learn? 4 words, 4 little phrases, jot it down. Okay, now we're going to move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is, what do you want them to do? What do you want your students to do? So 2 months ago, when I answered this question, I wanted my students first and foremost in my art room to create. That's at the top of my to-do list. When they walk in the door, I want them to spend the majority of their time creating. Then from there, I wanted them to listen and learn so that they could actually know what we were going to create. I also wanted them to be able to communicate with one another in a nice and kind manner. And as an art teacher, I wanted them to clean up after themselves. So that's what I wanted them to do, but you can imagine that that has since changed. What I want them to do now is I still want them to create. But now I want them to use their art to really share their feelings. Use it more as a vehicle to kind of explore how they're feeling right now. Because we're all experiencing tons of mixed emotions, and I know they are too. Let that art be therapy for them. That's what I want them to do. This is unknown territory. Let them explore that with their art. I want them to create with their family. And I want them to start to think of art as self-care, therapeutic. So what do you, teaching whatever subject matter, whatever grade level that you teach, what do you now in this new landscape want your students to do? Okay, last question. And if I'm going too fast, it's okay. You know, I'm just going to ramble a bit. So you just keep on jotting. The last question is, what do you want your students to know? And I'm going to answer this question from my heart, like that kind of no. Not like knowledge taking you to college. No, I mean, we know we want them to know that, but I'm thinking more of what do I personally want them to know from me? And this has not changed. I want my students to know that they are loved. I want my students to know that they are cared for. And even though they're not with me, I'm still loving on them. I still care for them the best that I can. And I want them to know that they're unique, just and amazing, just the way that they are. So hopefully you've gotten your little list, and I would hold up my paper, but I believe my words, oh no, oh great. I thought my words were going to be backwards. So if you want to take this a step further when we part ways tonight, what I did was with my 4 responses for each question, I went ahead and created 3 pie charts, and I just organized where I wanted the majority of their of that answer to be. So for example, what do I want them to do? The majority of that is create. So for that pie chart, it looked like a great big old Pac-Man eating the other things, which was cleaning and communicating, because I wanted them to spend the majority of the time creating. You don't need to do that now, but if it's something you want to do later, go for it. But what I want you to do is look at your list and look for 3 words that really stand out, that really smack you in the face, that really resonate with you. Think of those 3 words and grab your paper. I know what you're thinking. Finally, we're going to get to making something. You know, I'm a talker. I like to talk. So grab your paper, and I'm going to go ahead and clip mine up here. Maybe. And what I would is get yourself a permanent marker. A Sharpie would work great. You could use any color you want, colorful Sharpies. If you guys are fancy and you got all your different Sharpies, grab them. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a border around my paper. So I'm just taking my permanent black marker, and by a border, I just mean I'm drawing. And here's something that you could do when you return to school. Our kids are going to have all the emotions when they come back to school, regardless of when they go back, even if they go back at the beginning of the year. This is definitely an activity that you could do with them. You could ask them those 3 questions. In 5th grade this year, what do you want to learn? In 5th grade this year, what do you want to do? This year, what do you want to know? And then you could also do what we're about to do. Have them grab those 3 words that really stand out to them, and then we're going to follow this process. So if what we're about to do is pick out 3 words and create a piece of art with our 3 words. If your words are long, you might want to have your paper go horizontally. If your words are short, you can have your paper go vertically. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate mine. And the next thing I want you to do is divide this paper with 2 lines. So I'm going to start somewhere on the side, and I'm going to make not a straight line. In fact, sometimes what I tell my kids to do is just draw with your finger first. Maybe it'll be a wavy line. Maybe you want a zigzag line. It's up to you. I'm going to go with kind of a curved line like this, but you are the artist, as I tell my students. You get to decide. Once you've got 1 line, go ahead and add another one. It's going to go from one side of your paper all the way over to the other side. Now, we've created 3 sections of our paper. We're going to put one of our words in each section. So one of my words is create. I keep mentioning that. That's something I want my students to do. when you write your word, you're going to make sure that your word stretches from the top of this line and goes all the way down to that line. And the reason I emphasize this is because when I do this with my students, sometimes we don't quite make it down to that bottom line. So make sure you start at this top line. My C is going to bump into that one and then stretch itself all the way down to there. And if you want to go ahead and make your letters a little bit thicker, if you like to write in a fancy kind of font, you do you, boo-boo. If it helps, though, if you keep your letters in all caps, keeping all the letters capitalized as you write them. If it helps you to write your word with a pencil first so you can get your spacing right, you can totally do that. I'm just going to go ahead and wing it with my marker and just hope that I left myself enough room. I'm going to go ahead and add those lines there. When you're finished with your first word, you can go ahead and do your second and your third word following the same kind of process. But because creating is therapeutic and relaxing, don't feel like you have to do anything similar to what I'm doing. So if you have a fun font that you want to try, go for it. If you want to write a nice, do it. And I'm just going to try to squeeze in my last two letters, making sure, of course, that you're using that permanent marker. So go ahead and add your other words. And yeah, so be thinking about that and how you could use some of this when you head back to your classroom. So my next word, I think I'm going to have it be love. Maybe I'll even use a heart for an O. There we go. And one thing that the reason we're doing this with our 3 words is because this is not only relaxing and amazing, because that's how creating is, but it will, and these 3 words are going to be the backbone for your why. These 3 words that you picked out, you hand selected, you wrote them down first. These 3 words are the ones that really resonated with you. They are going to help you come up with your why. Why is it that you teach? Love, creating, and my last word is going to be joy. That is what I hope to bring joy. The reason I do it is love, and even for me, the love for creating. So think about these 3 words, and as we're getting ready to explore painting with markers, begin to kind of put these words together in a phrase or a saying. I love the joy of creating with my students. Or when I did this as a professional development with the teachers at my school, a lot of them found it helpful to have a sentence starter, to start with, the reason I teach you is because, or I love to be with you because. And that kind of sentence starter really kind of makes it a little bit easier to come up with your why. If you're a little bit stumped, you have a little bit of a block. Okay, so I want to share with you how you can paint. I don't know if you can see this so well. Oh, there we go. You can paint with markers. You can paint without making a big old mess. Because I know, I love y'all classroom teachers. I truly, truly do. But I know some of y'all are opposed a little bit to the mess. Now, we are teachers. We don't have that kind of problem. We do not have, most of us, any sort of OCD. But for those of you that don't like the mess, but you love having your kids create markers, this trick is for you. So let's go ahead, and inside of these shapes that you've made, you've created shapes now by having your letters stretch from the top to the bottom. Notice how I'm outlining, and I'll get it a little closer in case you can't see. I'm not coloring it all in. You don't have to go to that trouble, y'all. All you're doing, wrong side, all you're doing is outlining the outside edge of that shape. I mean, if you want to color it in, you can, but that's where the trick comes in. So all you do is start outlining. You could use your school colors if you wanted to. Me, I love a rainbow, so I'm going to go ahead and use rainbows to outline each one of these. and I'm just taking my marker around. By the way, when I do this trick, I've used a lot of different kinds of markers. Personally, I really like these praying markers because I've noticed they last really long. And when it comes to doing this, taking your markers and turning it into paint trick, they work great. So one thing that you can do when this is all finished, and I have done this as well, I took my pie chart. So I went ahead and I did create pie charts. I sat down with my flare pens. I made a pie chart that showed my kind of what I wanted my students to learn and do and know. I framed those pie charts and they are hanging in my art room because, you know, we're all going to end up going to school eventually. And when we do, we are going to be so stinking grateful. But there's going to come a time, a day, when the struggle, once again, is going to become real. It's going to be a tough day. We woke up on the wrong side of bed. We spilled our coffee and we get frustrated or a little bit upset. And it really helps to take a moment, I have found, to step back and look at my pie charts. Focus on that. And then this also is hanging in my room. I have this hanging in my room. That way I can see this is why I'm here. Yes, my coffee just spilled. Yes, I got a speeding ticket on the way to school. Yes, it was a rough day. And you know what? It doesn't have to be if I focus on my why. Now, you can go ahead, keep going with this. I'm going to also, and I'm, like I said, out one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using a little bit of water. So all you'll need is water. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this row. And because I've been talking, I'm going to a little bit ahead of me. It doesn't take much. I have a hard time creating and talking at the same time. Believe it or not, you would never know that by what's happening here, but it's actually not super easy. Let's see, color-wise, what do I want to go with? All right, I'm going to stick with, in case you ever are stumped when it comes to using certain colors, here's the art teacher in me coming out. If you're doing a rainbow, the way to remember that, Roy G. Biv. I'm sure most of you know, but I don't like to assume. And for other colors that look really together, colors that look great together are called analogous colors. They're colors that are next to each other on this magical thing called a color wheel. The analogous colors are the first three colors in the rainbow. So these are the warm colors also. That's why I use those for love. And then another set of analogous colors are ones that are called the cool or cold colors, which are the last. So I'm going to use green, blue, and purple. And when those colors mix, when you start adding water, they're not going to look, they're not going to kind of create a muddy color. They'll still continue to make a beautiful color. If you didn't use those colors, don't you worry, your pretty little head, your masterpiece will turn out just fine. Okay, so I'm about to add water to mine. And if you want to press the pause button on what you're working on to do the same, I think you totally should. The problem is that mine is hanging up. So there's a really good chance that it's going to start to drip. And that's just going to hard. But you guys will want to keep yours flat on the table so that that doesn't happen. And when you do this trick, it does take a moment to let the marker and the water work their magic, shall we say. So I've got my little cup of water. I've got a paintbrush. And all you're going to do, this is how I explained it to my students, you're going to use the water to wake up the marker. So I'm just going to take my damp brush and I'm painting it on top of my water-based marker. So we're using water-based markers here. Hopefully y'all didn't use permanent markers. Lord have mercy, I guess I should have mentioned that. So hopefully the only permanent marker you used was the black one. If you're right now saying, Cassie, why didn't you tell me that? I'm so sorry. Didn't I mention that earlier? Pardon. So if you sit there and kind of massage the water on top of the marker, it wakes up the marker and turns it into a paint. What? Did you even know that was a thing? Like, I've been teaching art for a long time, y'all. I just found out this trick not too long ago. Now, I will say this, sometimes you really have to paint over it, paint over the marker, and then let it sit, because it'll tend to continue to spread out and turn into a paint the longer that it sits. And some colors are gonna work great, like the green. Other colors, not so much. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this in. As you're filling this in, I want you guys, I just looked at the time. We have time to do our why too. I'm so excited. I want you to be thinking now about your why. If it all of a sudden strikes you, came into your brain like a bolt of lightning, jot it down on your pie chart so you can get ready to write it. When I did my why, I got the idea for it, and then I'm an art teacher. I have canvases just laying around. I painted it, and now it's hanging right behind me as I teach. So it's the thing that my students can see when they are looking at me. And my why is, I'm here to help you become the masterpiece that I know that you are. That's my why. That's what they're staring at while I'm talking to them. So think about whatever you end up creating today. It could be a sketch that you make, and then later on you could paint it. You could grab yourself a canvas board, have a relaxing evening, and just kind of paint the background with a variety of colors. Once it dries, you could always use a Cricut cutter if you are a perfectionist and want your letters to look just right. Or you could go ahead and paint it on there. I know when I did this as, like I said, a PD at my school, several teachers, what we did was we painted the canvas first. I'll take a little break from lunch. Here's how we went about painting the canvas. It's a good story. So imagine, if you will, an art teacher standing in front of, much like I am right now, a group of teachers who were feeling very apprehensive about creating. You know, when you go into, and I mean, I would feel the same if I were going to go into a music room and I was expected to sing, I would feel a little nervous, and so were they. So we had all the canvases laid out on the tables for all of the teachers. And what I did, because I'm pure evil, by the way, what we did was I said, okay, I want everybody to grab a brush and just paint a circle somewhere on your canvas. Paint a circle, big circle, little circle, circle with spots. I don't care, just paint a circle. And everybody was just kind of like, okay, loosening up a bit. All right, I got this. I just painted a beautiful circle. And then I said, now switch seats. I've never been yelled at by a group of middle-aged ladies so much in my life. Now, I probably have teacher friends here watching who are saying, watch it, Stevens. I'm older than the majority of them. So when they switch seats, the reason I did that was just kind of loosen everybody up a little bit, make them a little bit more relaxed and calm. And we did that all the way around the table. Everybody had their kitten mittens on somebody else's painting. When they finally planted themselves back in their seats, they had this canvas where the blank canvas syndrome, that big white expanse, was gone. Everybody was suddenly feeling a lot happier, more relaxed, and then they could take the painting that they had and make it their own. So when we were finished with that, we let the paint dry. We took a lunch break, and that's when we came back and added our why. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because this might be something that you want to do with your faculty and staff. This might be something that you want to do even with your kids, where if you want to paint, have each one of them have their own little hand on a canvas. And once it was dry, folks went back and they added their why, like I said, either with Sharpie marker. Some of them printed out their why, and then they Mod Podged, or we used white glue and attached it that way. And like I said, friends who had Cricuts and had wanted their lettering and words to be just so, they went ahead and printed those out and added those when they were finished. when everybody in our school had completed their why, we got them framed, and our whys now hang outside of every classroom teacher's door. So when you walk up and down the halls of our school, parents, students, visitors of our school, they see exactly why the person who's in that room teaching, they see why they are there. It greets the kids every day when they walk in the door. It's the last thing the kids see when they exit. It's super powerful and impactful, and I think that it means a lot to everybody. I know it meant a lot to me to be able to do that. Now, if you'll notice, the top colors are a lot brighter and it's more colorful in paint. That's because the paints had more time to spread out. If ever you do this again and you want the colors to be a little darker, instead of using a single line around, you could always use a couple of lines, color it a little bit more. And there we have it. I'm finished. I am excited to see how y'all's turn out. But now I'm going to go ahead and work on my why. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to show you another trick that might be a little tricky to do while hanging up, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. So go ahead, grab a new sheet of paper if you've got one, or if you just like to watch, allow me to be your Bob Ross. And you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy. I don't know if I'd call this a show or what. I almost said something else. By the way, if you ever do this again, you could always make the letters a little bit more bold too. Okay, let's say you figured out your why. I'm a big fan of adding a border, so that's just something I like to do. It helps frame things out a little bit. You do you. You could even add little hearts in the corner. When I did this portion of the workshop at Get Your Teach On, what we did was something really amazing. And let me just tell you, you classroom teachers blew my ever-loving mind. So creative. And I could tell they were a little apprehensive at first. I mean, my socks were knocked off. And so what I had them do was sketch out a shape. Sketch out a shape that really kind of ties in with your why. A heart is the first thing that might come to mind. If you're going to start with that, you might want to draw it nice and big so you can fit your why in there. Some people drew things like a star to fit their why in. Other folks, they included things that they teach in there. Or you could do what I'm going to do and just leave it like this. If you want to have your why on those lines even, you could do the same kind of trick that we did here. So I'm just going to write a simple why here, and then I'm going to show you my little trick. So I'm going to go with, I am here sorry, I obviously can't write and talk at the same time. You guys are like, it got real quiet. Do I smell burning feathers? What's happening with Stevens? I'm not the best at writing and talking, so pardon me. I am here to, let me read it to you, shall I? Learn from you. That's going to be my why today. So regardless of what your why is, if you want to just think of this like as a sketch, go ahead and sketch it out. But fun little trick that, especially if you've got kiddos, pardon me for getting really close, then go ahead and I failed to mention that you might want this aluminum foil. This is a trick I learned from another art teacher. She's fabulous. Her name is Laura Lee Chambers. She's one of my favorites to follow on Instagram. You can find her at 2 Art Chambers. So do this with kids. Grab your markers, water-based markers, grab your piece of foil, and just color this foil any way you want to. I'm going to go with like a tie-dye effect. And I'm just coloring it in. And if you guys have been joining me, I don't know, I know Hope mentioned this, but I teach art class every day, live on Facebook and on Instagram. And we've been doing so many different art projects every single day with a different theme. And one of the favorite tricks that we've ever done is this right here. We take our markers and we just color on the foil. If your marker, it starts to dry on the foil, don't sweat it. You just keep on coloring, baby, color, as we say. So if ever you want to join my live art classes, everybody's welcome. I always post a list of the supplies needed, and I do that on my blog, which is just my name, Cassie Stevens. But the supplies we use are these kind of supplies: markers and crayons. But now don't you be thinking we do boring stuff now. We do some really crazy, wild, and fun stuff. We have a great time. Our theme this week is outer space. So we made a talking alien. Yesterday we made Salto's solar system. So it's pretty amazing, the amount of stuff we do. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I see my marker's starting to dry just a pinch. I'm gonna speed it up. Okay, next up, I'm gonna grab my paper. I hope this works since this is dry. Let this be one of those projects where it's a flop and y'all are just gonna have to act like it's a okay? Make sure you promise me that. I have a damp sponge and I'm going to just take my sponge and wipe it on my paper, dampening my paper. I'll take my aluminum foil that I've colored that I don't know if it's gonna work because the marker's dry. Oh, y'all cross your fingers. And I'll place it here and massage that on top. This is either going to be really amazing or not. Let's see. Oh, that's going to be medium. All right, guys. Check that out. Who's your favorite art teacher? Well, probably not, but you can at least pretend. Anyway, yay. So we have just had like an art workout. Are you guys tired? Again, feathers? I'm beat. I hope that you've had as much fun as I have had. I can't wait to see what Hope and Wade have created. Especially, I loved how Wade was sitting there. I think he had the same brush as me. He was like, he's ready. He's ready. So I'm going to pass it back to them. Thank you guys so much for having me. I had a blast. Look at that.
Cassie, this was so fun. Like, we took this very seriously.
I did. I need to redo mine.
I want to share because we want to share. We want y'all to share yours in the comments if you feel comfortable doing so.
Doing so?
Doing so.
Oh, yes. Doing so. This ear thing, I can't hear anything.
Well, that's your own problem, not mine. But I chose the three. Well, I kind of chose two words for my first one. I can't hold it straight. Something's wrong with me. By the way, I want to do that other thing that you just did, Cassie, because that is the cool. I'm about to go upstairs and do that. That's amazing. Like, that's a teacher. That's a teacher hack right there.
You are my favorite art teacher.
Yes. But I chose the words problem solve, capable, and fearless, because I want for students to be fearless in the fact that they know that they're capable to be able to problem solve, because if you can problem solve, you can literally do and accomplish anything because obstacles are always going to come your way. And I feel like problem solving kind of encompasses all of the things that I want for students to truly be able to do. Because learning a standard, I know it's our job, I know it's important, but, I think about some of the standards that I haven't used in my actual life. But problem solving, however, is something that I use all the time. And so that's how I hope to teach my standards, is through problem solving, so that it really sticks with them.
Yeah, so let's see.
What do you have, Waking?
I have mine right here. So mine, my first word is good, then I have listen, and then support, because I want my students to be good people. I want them to be able to listen and respond to each other, and then I always want to support them and their views and their opinions. So
I like your letters. That's your font that you.
Wade is very creative, Cassie. Like,
he did an awesome job.
Art. He loves art.
She's proud. My teacher. I always want to make the art teacher proud. I still remember my art teacher from elementary school. Her name was Miss Tippett. And I always wanted to make her proud. Oops, Chase Cam. So I'm glad you're proud of me.
Well, those look fabulous.
Oh, so I'm going to go upstairs after we finish this, and I am literally going to do what you just did.
So much fun.
Because I love that so much. Cassie, you are amazing, and the way that you broke this down, and it just had me reflecting on so many things. I truly didn't even realize, like, I knew you were going to be fun, and I was so excited because I knew you would just make me smile and have so much fun. But I really needed this. Like, I really needed just to think through and process my thoughts and get some ideas down on paper. It is so therapeutic what you just did.
It helps so much.
Well, good. It was so fun to share with you guys.
Well, you are so awesome.
Well, it was my pleasure. And thank you guys for, me to like think of that. How did I go for so many years and not like stop to think, why am I doing this? I love it. It's fun. I have a great time, but you got to dig deeper. That's beyond the surface of that. And now, like y'all said, our why is totally, and I think the takeaway is to remember our why now. Remember what we really want them to think, learn, because I think it's going to be more important. Yeah. Notice how standards probably didn't come into play. Yeah. And notice how testing was not mentioned, because that's not important. Nope. And hopefully we've known that all along. We've been saying that for a very long time. But hopefully now the rest of the world, parents who are trying to teach the kids are really going to grab that and understand that too and know where it is we're coming from.
Yes. Well, like you said, okay, tell us one more time, because I've tuned into several of your art classes just because, again, I just love picking up tips that I can implement in classrooms with my students. So tell us again, I know it's on your Facebook page and on your Instagram, right? And your YouTube. And every day, it's at what time?
What time?
So every weekday I am teaching art at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can find me live on my Facebook page and on Instagram. On my Instagram, there's a link tree. If you just click on the link tree, it will take you to the Facebook page. I feel like on Facebook, it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It is archived there. So actually just like y'all are archived on your Facebook, all of those lessons are currently archived on my Facebook. We've done a dinosaur week, a space week is where we are now. We've done pirates, zany scientists, which you would love.
Yes.
We did science experiments and art that week. It was a lot. And we kicked everything off with that week. So all of those projects are archived also on my YouTube channel. Oh, wow. So if anybody is interested in checking them out, they're there, as well as a bunch of other videos like for Earth Day and a whole bunch of things that I've been working on creating.
Unicorn Day. Yeah, I watched your unicorn tutorial. I'm telling Cassie, I'm your biggest fan. You have no idea. You just don't know it, but I'm your biggest fan here. So you guys did an amazing job tonight. Cassie, you're so wonderful. We cannot wait to see what you created. So please post your final designs on Instagram and tag us so that we can see them, because I know Cassie would love to see them. We would love to see them as well. But I do, Cassie, I love what you said about that our whys are even going to change as we head back into the classroom after, because any major life event just changes the way that you think, what you're grateful for, what you're appreciative of now. And so I think that our whys are going to be constantly changing even as we head back into the classroom this year. So
yes, thank you so much.
You are amazing.
You're
thank
awesome.
you so much. You're the best ever. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.
Thank you for the
She is the best. This was just such a fun night. Many of you were asking if this was still going to be live, because some of you want to go back and rewatch how Cassie did this so that you can do it with your own students. And yes, absolutely. I think this would be an amazing assignment for right now.
I mean,
just because they don't have to have much supplies. It's most of the things that they would have in their house anyways. But what a time to really get students to reflect and think about, what are they grateful for? What are they really focusing on right now? What is their purpose?
I think it's we are going back to school at some point. And so if you're an administrator or a school leader, just like Cassie said, like, this is a great activity to just break the ice and just be reminded on what you're getting started to do in this upcoming school year. So fantastic idea.
Well, you guys are awesome as always. Please remember that oh my goodness, the times are crazy right now. The job is tough, but you are making such a difference for so many every single day. Yep. Remember, you don't have to overthink your why. It's just kind of what Cassie walked us through tonight, and thinking about things that are important to you and what you really want for your students to be able to know and do. But your why isn't just in the classroom. You've also got to have whys for your family and for yourself. So think through those as well. But we will see you, oh my goodness, Friday night.
Yeah, oh yeah, Friday.
We have
big news.
The biggest announcement ever. It is the first time in Get Your Teach On history for grades 2 through 8. It is going to be wild,
We've
y'all.
We've been teasing some things.
Yes, you do not want to miss it.
Up.
So make sure you're joining us Friday night at 8 o'clock. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.